from the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 6, streaming now.
Well, good evening and welcome into WRTV News at 6. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starrentino. First tonight, Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory is tracking snow that's set to move into Indiana and could potentially create a slick morning commute. Kevin, what is the timeline for this snow and how much can we expect?
I've got all those details, and I'll put light snow in there, but we've seen it many, many times. It's not necessarily the amount of snow, it's the timing of snow, which will impact the morning commute. The snow tonight is still west of the Mississippi River. As we get past midnight, that's when snow will arrive in southwest Indiana. I think it's probably 4 a.m. or after before it arrives in the metro area. The overall forecast 1 to 2 inches of snow, and it should be fairly widespread. Some spots will see barely an inch, others will be pushing that 2-inch mark. We may see a little rain-snow mix in the afternoon as temperatures start to warm up just a little bit. Here's your timeline. Overnight, snow arriving. We wake up to the light snow, and it will continue through the day into early afternoon. So it's not just a quick hitting system, but as temperatures come above freezing during the day tomorrow, that will help the roads, but be especially careful first thing in the morning.
The Indianapolis Department of Public Works is calling out a full shift of its snow force drivers to pre-treat roads ahead of the snow that is expected to move in. That means 80 trucks will be on the streets of Indianapolis beginning tonight at 11. Crews will remain out plowing snow and treating roads through Wednesday night.
New at 6, as more people get tested for coronavirus, people who live near a COVID-19 testing site in Kokomo are getting more frustrated. As WRTV's Stephanie Wade shows us, traffic is getting more congested and disrupting a neighborhood.
It is a madhouse out here. After work from 4 p.m. until like 6 or 7, the traffic is insane.
At this COVID-19 rapid testing site near Monroe and Bell Street in Kokomo.
And then he's even parked where there's cones that they put up. There's someone blocking our driveway.
The lines are getting longer.
There's so many people. At times I've seen maybe hundreds of people coming in and out within an hour, for sure.
While parking is scarce.
For there to be no parking, it's not even good for the elderly people who are getting tested because they're having to park up to 3 blocks away.
So people are street parking illegally to get tested.
They're parking on the yellow lines. They're parking all the way up to the stop signs. It's dangerous for kids. I can't let my kids play outside.
Kaylin Bennett says she's even been late to work a few times.
It's really a frustration for me every single day. I am constantly having to go out to the COVID center and ask people to move their vehicles. They're parking in our driveway. You know this is a driveway?
I'm sorry, I'll move.
At times there will be 3 to 4 vehicles parked across our driveway as if it's a parking lot.
Bennett says she watches her elderly neighbor walk around the corner just to get onto the bus.
It's a worry on me because of my disability. I am worried that if in case of emergency that they cannot get to me.
It's all about location. For it to be public like this, it's just ridiculous that they would put it in a neighborhood.
Neighbors have reached out to the city with these issues.
We have so many buildings that they could use in this town, and I've tried to call the city numerous times and I don't get any response. The time I get a response, they say to call the police station.
So we tried reaching out ourselves. Mayor Tyler Moore acknowledged the amount of traffic at the Howard County testing site has increased because of the increased testing and amount of time people are waiting to be tested. He says the city has installed a few signs to advise people not to block driveways and alleyways, but, quote, many times those signs are apparently ignored. He's informed the police department to try and patrol the area more and will continue to work with the Howard County Health Department to best serve the needs for testing and the neighbors nearby. Stephanie Wade, WRTV.
Well, if you have an issue and you need help getting taken care of, you can email us at workingforyou@WRTV.com.
The number of people dying in Indiana with COVID-19 continues to climb, but new cases are starting to decrease a bit. The Indiana Department of Health reports 129 additional coronavirus-related deaths. That pushes the total to 6,657 Hoosiers who have died with COVID. Data from the Department of Health also shows 4,347 additional coronavirus cases. 434,642 people in Indiana have now been diagnosed with COVID-19.
As Hoosier healthcare workers begin receiving the highly anticipated vaccine against the coronavirus in the coming days and week, nursing home residents and their staff will become eligible as well. Walgreens is one of the places that will help administer the vaccine. We spoke directly with its chief medical officer, Dr. Kevin Ban, about how Walgreens is preparing for that big job. Dr. Ban tells us they are well prepared in terms of infrastructure, storage, and safety. Walgreens has been working closely with the CDC and Operation Warp Speed since the beginning of this pandemic. As you receive the first dose of the vaccine, because recipients need to get a second dose, you will get a card with a reminder for when you are due. Walgreens will send text, email, and phone reminders. It will also connect with your primary care doctor if you have a vaccine coming up to keep everyone on the same page. To see more of our conversation with Walgreens, you can click on this story on WRTV.com.
Some of the COVID-19 vaccine production is happening here in Indiana, and that's what brought Vice President Mike Pence and top health leaders to the Hoosier State today. Vice President Pence and Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb toured Catalent in Bloomington. That's where 2,000 people are employed, and many are helping to produce the COVID vaccine. In fact, Catalent is partnered with more than one company in developing a vaccine. But right now, the company is producing the Moderna vaccine, and that vaccine goes before the FDA for approval this week. If it gets emergency approval, millions of doses could soon be shipped from Catalent's Bloomington facility. Vice President Pence says even though the vaccine is here, it's not time to let our guard down.
That all of us would do well to go back to basics. We see cases rising in many places around the country, particularly on the coast at this time. We see hospitalizations rising, and worst of all, we've seen heartbreaking losses over the course of the year and in recent days. And so we just want to remind every Hoosier, as the good book says, don't become weary in doing well, because in due time you'll reap a harvest, and it'll be a harvest of good health in our country. So, Bob, we all know the basics, don't we? It's wash your hands, practice good hygiene, practice social distancing. When you can't or otherwise indicated in a facility like this, wear a mask.
Again, Catalent in Bloomington is producing the Moderna COVID vaccine, which could receive emergency approval later this week.
And we know you probably have many questions about the COVID-19 vaccine. That's why on our website at WRTV.com, we are answering as many of those questions as possibly we can, and in a question and answer format, so you can easily see and find the information you want to know. Just go to WRTV.com/coronavirus.
An Anderson family is worried they won't be able to pay their bills on time. They say a mail mix-up is causing the concern. WRTV's Troy Washington explains why the family thinks their mail stopped coming in the first place.
It's been a tough few months for Jennifer Abbott. First, her grandmother got sick. Then she says she realized her mail wasn't showing up at her Main Street address.
Mail all suddenly just stopped coming.
Once her grandmother got out of the hospital in September, that's when she says she started trying to get answers.
This mailbox is empty because the family says there's been a mail mix-up that has been happening for at least 2 months.
When she got home, I went up to the post office and they said that somebody had reported our house for COVID.
And according to Abbott, that's why her family isn't getting mail anymore. She says the supervisor here at the post office explained
that they weren't going to deliver our mail, that they were going to hold on to it.
That's when she says she started to explain that her grandmother doesn't have COVID-19.
I ended up telling the people, the post office people, she's not positive, she's negative. Our house is COVID-free.
She says that day she was able to pick up her mail, but what about the results of the holdup?
Bills and my credit card bills, my grandma's credit card bills, everything was late because of it.
WRTV listened to her concerns, and we talked with neighbors who backed up Abbott's claim.
Our neighbors, a couple days ago, they got a huge stack of our mail. 2 neighbors down the street got a huge stack of our mail. If they drop off the mail They throw it up here on the steps.
From there, we reached out to the U.S. Postal Service and asked them about their protocol in regard to delivering to homes during the pandemic. They tell us they take every precaution to protect mail carriers, but assured us they won't stop delivering mail because of a COVID-19 diagnosis at a home.
I just want my mail so I can pay my bills and not have late charges or stuff gets shut off or my car get repoed.
After WRTV reached out for the first time in a while, she says she got her mail inside of her mailbox. Working for you in Anderson, Troy Washington, WRTV.
We are still waiting to hear back from USPS on this allegation specifically, but we've got a full statement from USPS on how they are handling COVID-19 and deliveries. Check it out when you read this story on WRTV.com.
A Fisher's mom is urging other parents to fight back to make sure their children with special needs get the services they need in school. Erin Dagg filed a formal complaint against Hamilton Southeastern schools to get her son back in school. WRTV Investigates Kara Kenny explains what you can do and where you can go if you're concerned about your own child.
You gonna do it? Oh no! Erin Dagg has been fighting to keep her son Dylan in person at New Britain Elementary. He's nonverbal and has quadriplegic cerebral palsy. Dylan receives occupational, physical, and speech therapy at school. But that all changed when Hamilton Southeastern schools started the school year virtually. The Daggs filed a formal complaint with the Indiana Department of Education, saying virtual learning is not adequate for their son.
He can't attain to watching a screen like that. He doesn't have the cognitive capabilities.
We first told you about their complaint back in August. The Daggs say they have since reached a resolution with HSE, and Dylan has been attending school in person and will continue in person even as the rest of the district remains all virtual through at least January 15th.
It's been amazing to watch him. It's so important for him to be in person because he requires very specific supports that aren't available to be done virtually.
Go Dylan! Dylan participates in a life skills program along with a teacher, aides, and half a dozen other students.
He doesn't have friends in the neighborhood. Nobody comes and knocks on our door for Dylan to play because he can't talk and he doesn't have those relationships. So his relationships and his supports are at school.
Do you think this would have happened had you not filed the formal complaint?
Absolutely not.
Erin's attorney, Tom Blessing, says school districts have to follow federal law, including the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, even if the district goes all virtual.
Well, I think it's great, and we appreciate the school working with us to get that case resolved, although it shouldn't have taken litigation to make that happen. But it did.
Blessing says as COVID-19 surges, he's getting flooded with calls from parents. His advice: be wary if your child's school asks to make changes to the Individualized Education Plan, or IEP.
They're actually asking parents to agree that their child's IEP ought to provide for virtual instruction. And my advice to parents is don't do that. Don't agree to change anything. Consult with someone before you do that, because that IEP is really your best protection.
You can reach out to InSource, the ARC of Indiana, Indiana Disability Rights, or the Joseph Millet Foundation. We reached out to HSE, who told us in the event virtual services and/or therapies are not feasible or are unavailable, compensatory services and/or therapies will be considered by the case conference committee. At times, in-person services have continued for students or have been implemented for periods of time based on students' individual needs.
It's been amazing to watch him.
Erin knows how hard it is to work and help her other kids with virtual learning, and she encourages parents to advocate for their kids, especially ones that can't advocate for themselves.
And we have a responsibility with these kids to speak up and make sure that they are seen and heard and cared for in an equal way.
Working for you, Kara Kenny, WRTV.
HSE currently has about 200 students receiving in-person services. A spokesperson says they are implementing the same safety protocols used while all students were in person. You can read more of HSE's plan for exceptional learners and their operations plan. We've created a link in this story on the WRTV app and at WRTV.com.
A Hancock County judge has ordered a Greenfield monument company to pay more than $379,000 following a report from WRTV Investigates. We first raised questions about Greenfield Granite's business practices back in August after receiving complaints that grieving families paid for headstones but never received them. A judge ruled Greenfield Granite must pay more than $379,000 judgment and refrain from engaging in deceptive business practices. If the state can collect the money, a chunk will be paid to the victims. The judge's ruling also allows the state to distribute headstones and other items to families as well. Greenfield Granite's owner, Amy Stroll, died by suicide in September, and her husband has filed for bankruptcy.
This is the season of giving, and we know during the pandemic, many organizations and people need extra help to make Christmas special. But a warning, cases of charity fraud are going up. What you need to be aware of and how you can protect yourself from fraud. Kevin.
And snow in the forecast for tomorrow. I'm sure you've heard. We'll go through the game plan and what happens after the snow.
Welcome back. 'Tis the season of giving, especially when it comes to helping people in need. You may want to give a certain organization or cause, but you need to know cases of charity fraud, well, they're increasing. Mallory Safastay with our Scripps partners in Baltimore shows us how criminals are tricking people out of their hard-earned money in day 6 of the 12 scams of Christmas.
The FBI is warning that scammers are soliciting donations for individuals and groups affected by the pandemic. People want to help, and because life has changed so much, they're not questioning suspicious transactions.
This year, the need is great, and sadly, not every dollar donated is going to the intended source. The FBI has received reports of scammers using the pandemic as a way to help themselves to your money.
All the fraudsters are just kind of adapting their normal playbook to incorporate something that might be a little more believable because of COVID-19.
Supervisory Special Agent Keith Custer said people are going along with these scams because our sense of normal has changed.
When you're being asked to do something a little unusual, like buy a bunch of gift cards as a way to pay for something, then sometimes people kind of let their guard down and think, oh well, that seems reasonable, when in fact it really isn't.
Pay with a credit card and give to organizations you know. Check that they're registered with your state, and websites like GuideStar and Charity Navigator can tell you how much organizations spend on programs and services versus overhead and fundraising. And don't feel pressured into giving over the phone. The caller could be an imposter or masking who they're working for.
We've seen people incorporating political action committees or PACs. They were soliciting donations on behalf of the volunteer fire department in Montgomery County. It so happened the perpetrator was using a robo-dialer to dial almost everybody in the county. They happened to get a hold of several people that were part of the volunteer fire company. Had never been aware of this.
Another incentive to give, the IRS is offering a special tax deduction this year. Taxpayers can deduct up to $300 in cash donations when they file their taxes next year, but it's only for qualifying tax-exempt organizations. The IRS has an easy lookup tool on their website, irs.gov. With your 12 scams of Christmas, I'm Mallory Safastay.
Proof that we did have some sunshine earlier in the day before the clouds took over. Maybe tomorrow we'll have some snow balanced on those branches as light snow returns for the first time on a widespread basis this season. Okay, temperatures in central Indiana will be cold enough for this to stick in the morning. We wait at this hour. It won't be until the overnight hours that the snow moves in first into southern Indiana. Guess who's ready? Rory Gregory. She's fired up, ready to leave some paw prints in the snow tomorrow. She's not a very tall dog, but this will not be a challenge. I think she can handle 1 to 2 inches of snow. There's the snow southwest of St. Louis towards Springfield, Missouri. Then you go to Oklahoma City, Tulsa, portions of Kansas. This is moving to the north and east. Temperatures stuck right around 30 degrees. Upper 20s north of Indy. These will not change a whole lot. They'll slowly drop, but stay in the upper 20s because of the increase in cloud cover. Do anticipate some slick spots in the morning as a result of the light snow moving in. Again, keep in mind, first drive with some light snow, maybe enough to cover any untreated road surfaces. That light snow may mix with some rain in the afternoon. As our temperatures come above freezing, I anticipate road conditions to improve as a result of that and just become wet. Snow tapers off tomorrow evening. There's the light blue of the snow ongoing at 7 a.m., fairly widespread. You see the darker blues along Interstate 74, I-70 to the east as we get to the early afternoon. Then everything starting to shift to the east and pull away as we get to tomorrow night. Temperatures during the afternoon, as I mentioned, above the freezing mark. That improves road conditions, makes it harder for the snow to accumulate on roads. Temperature 33 in Peru to 36 in Bloomington. Thursday, still mostly cloudy, still in the 30s. We'll make a jump into the low 40s for the weekend, but will include a 30% chance of a rain-snow mix on Saturday. Temperatures warm to 46 on Monday. Temperatures beyond that look like they'll stay near average for this time of year, which is right around 40 degrees. Hang in there for the snow tomorrow. Mark, Amanda?
All right. Thank you, Kevin, for that. COVID-19 has once again canceled the Old Oaken Bucket football game between IU and Purdue.
The athletic directors of both schools announced this morning the rescheduled game between the in-state rivals will not be played Friday due to COVID-19 testing results at both schools. IU finished the regular season at 6-1 and awaits its bowl fate. Purdue finished the regular season with a 2-4 record. We'll be right back.
If you've got some things to do this evening, snow is not a part of our evening plan or through midnight. It'll be overnight, probably 4 a.m. before it arrives in Indianapolis earlier to the south. Again, a 1 to 2 inch snowfall, cold enough for that to stick, so watch for slick spots in the morning. Temperatures do climb above freezing. That'll improve conditions in the afternoon. Thursday dry, Friday dry. We'll hit 40 then. Mark and Amanda?
Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news.
Up next is World News with David Muir. Amanda, Kevin, and I will see you back here tonight at 7 o'clock.